How's it going, family? I'm just going to quickly grab some water. I advise you do the same. Need some water to wash down those clear pills. I'll be right back. All right, family, let me know if you guys can hear me. Got about 170 people. Let me know if the notification went out to you. Just give this a thumbs up, like the video. I adjusted a little bit of the settings on this live stream, so I just want to make sure that everyone's getting notified. Cool. Seeing about 200 people join in. All right, beautiful. Great. Loud and clear, great. All right, so how are you all doing? How is everyone doing? I appreciate everyone. Thanks for showing up. It's going to be a good night. Let's say hi to a couple people, get around to some questions. Also, for anyone that has tuned into the Jubilee Decoded video that I released on Patreon, let me know what you guys thought about that. I had a really great time making it. I wasn't anticipating it to be so long. It ended up being like an hour-long presentation. I really worked hard at that one. I wanted to come out with something that was just like above and beyond and leveled up from the last decode that I shared regarding the Shemitah Decoded. So it was like a natural progression moving from that one to the next. And we're not going to be talking about crypto or money too much today, but I just want some of your feedback. Let me know how you guys thought about it. The presentation quality is really going to be very similar to this upcoming expansion mastermind that I'm releasing in a couple weeks. I'm working out some of the final, things that are going to be taken care of regarding that new course. It's dropping on September 1st. I'll be coming out with a little video soon regarding the expansion group coaching membership because I get a lot of people reaching out to me about that, lots of interest. So I'm excited. It's getting a lot of interest for sure as well, because it's going to include the new course for free. So getting a lot of people wanting a little bit more clarification on that, and I'm doing my best to describe it, but it's hard in videos sometimes to go over everything and make sense of it all. You guys know me, I don't do any fancy editing, or I just do one takes and freestyle it. Mr. Jansen, appreciate you. Matt M said he's doing some shrooms. All right, you're gonna have a good night. Although it might kick in. Yeah, depends. Depends on what type you did. Golden teachers take like 2 hours, depending on if you're fasted or what you ate them with. Callan from Argentina, amazing. Let me know where you guys are from. Write your country below. Exar Kun, appreciate you. Sending you lots of love. Joanne, appreciate you. I really am happy to hear that you're enjoying these live streams. Time to succeed. I love that message. Said, hello, beautiful people, sending everyone much love, peace, joy, and abundance. And I have accepted in mind, I want everyone to accept in their own lives and families and communities. Yes, that's the vibe. That's what this time is all about, like people need to wake up to the fact that the ultimate weapon formed against us is division. And we have the numbers. What we don't have is the unity. And that's something that I'm here to bring to this world. Maxime, I appreciate you joining the YouTube membership. It means a lot to me. I appreciate your support. Anyone who joins the YouTube membership or the Patreon, appreciate every single one of you. I'm super grateful. It's all love. XRP surfing, I appreciate you. I love that. Sending you lots of love. It's going to get spicy up in here. You know how we do. Jehovah's Thickness, I appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. You said, how do you know a love interest is wanting to get to know you versus gathering information to use against you in the future? I find myself often experiencing vulnerability hangovers. So essentially, you're worried that somebody who seems like a love interest, it's a conditional interest, meaning they're just seeking you out for maybe monetary or to leverage on you in some way, shape, or form. This is very popular now, especially because we're in the age of the internet. But just to recap really quickly, I appreciate your super chat. Thank you so much for supporting my work. You said, how do you know a love interest is wanting to get to know you versus gathering information to use against you in the future? Well, what's really important about this concept, and it's something we've been talking about quite a bit, is the ego and how we must have a strong ego. And I've been talking about it more and more lately because so many people have been sending me messages and emails and reaching out to me, and it's been beautiful to see how people are reacting to this, this concept that I've been sharing about the ego and how it is not what we've been told. And essentially, the stronger your divine ego becomes, the better you are at protecting yourself. The weaker your ego gets, the easier it is to manipulate you. So remember what I just said. You need to develop this sense of self-awareness. You need to remember what you are. The enlightenment is not this process of going out in the forest and gathering, foraging mushrooms, and that's not it. Enlightenment is when you're able to tap into a divine source within you. It has nothing to do with the external at all. So This process requires a strong ego. It requires a selfish approach at how you integrate into this society. See, the problem is, and the reason why so many people get caught up in fake love interests specifically, is because they're caught up in their desires. And sometimes their desires are just tugging them along into some form of stimulus that doesn't actually bring them harmony and balance. It is literally just for stimulus. Very few people want to admit that, though. And this is another thing that shows up in the spiritual and new age and religion and cult, all of these movements, is they try their best to suppress stimuli. And when you start to suppress the stimuli while simultaneously you have a world that it's so easy to access. I mean, things like food and porn and, communications and all these things. I mean, we're really at a crossroads right now where we're uncertain of what even is an organic connection. Just that in and of itself has brought a lot of, confusion to the world. We've been sold on this idea of what friends and family are, but look at how over the past couple of years, we've watched so many people's families fall apart because of an experimental vaccine. I mean, how much love does this world really have right now? Not too much. It operates in a state of selflessness through beings that have a very damaged ego, and they do everything for the collective to make the collective feel safe. And the greatest people on this earth are the ones that aren't waiting around to make change. And they're also not doing things because of their outcomes. When you start to live life for the process rather than the outcome, that's when you start bringing in a frequency that matches the frequency that you operate at. I'd much rather be disliked in a world that operates like that than seeking validation and acceptance from other people who are damaged. So don't let damaged people damage you. And you do this by knowing what you are, knowing what your target is, and keep your eye on that prize. And sometimes that prize is not a person. You might think it is a person because you've been conditioned to believe such. But the only thing that matters is self. And through self, and really genuinely and ruthlessly being self, and never behaving for this society, through that little change, you're going to notice who's there in your life to take advantage of you, who's there in your life to use you, who's there in your life that's leveraging on you. And it's your opportunity to become the alchemist. Do you want to live a life to fulfill someone else's dream? Do you want to be used as a resource to fulfill someone else's dream? Really, it requires stepping back and asking yourself this. Because while you might think that out of this relationship you're getting something, whether that be companionship or lust or whatever it is, in actuality, it's not a fair transaction because you're unaware of the intentions. And the reason you're unaware of the intentions is probably because you're too afraid to ask. And if you're not too afraid to ask, then perhaps you're operating at too low of a frequency to really tap into intuition. The stronger the ego becomes, the more in tune with intuition. Hey, Sybil, I'm sending you lots of love. Thank you for showing up tonight. Appreciate you. OG Wolf. D-Vortex, appreciate you. Hope you're having a beautiful night. Treat your pineal gland right. I love your name. I appreciate you. Sending you love. Wiz Stee. I appreciate you becoming a YouTube member. Sending you lots of love. I love seeing the YouTube members where like the little pill pops up next to their name. It also includes some emojis that I added in. One moment, let me just adjust this. 1 second, family. Okay, we got about 350 people. Let's get this up to 700. We should get it to 700 by now. I mean, I know these lives are very, very spicy, so depending on when people join in, it could be slightly, off the rails for them. But I know if people like the live stream, if they give it a thumbs up, it'll shoot it out to the algorithm a little better. CK and Cozy, I appreciate you. I like the dragon meme. Kimberly Taylor, appreciate you. Just making sure I didn't miss any super chat. All right. Just looking through some questions. Jay Martinez said, Jordan and whiskey, my two favorite things on a Friday. Yeah, that's funny. I love that. Oof, it's a heavy question. But I feel like this is a good one to kick off with. Patriot Eagle, first of all, I appreciate you. You said, I have my childhood dream job. No desire for material possession. Don't care for money. Feel I've seen enough of this evil realm. Is it wrong if I want to take myself out of this realm? Well, first things first, I don't know how spicy I could get on this reply, but what's so evil about this place? I just want to know. Based on a couple of the things you're saying, it seems as if you might have had something actually happen to you, and you're just bringing up the job, the dream job, and the fact that you don't care about money and material possessions. But then to follow that up with, I've seen enough of this evil realm. Is it wrong if I want to take myself out? Well, first of all, there is really nothing right or wrong about something that you feel. Whatever you feel, it's on you. And perhaps there's a little bit of lack behind your words. And this lack behind your words makes me feel as if it's not even relevant to talk about the job or the fact that you're not interested in money or material possessions, because neither of those things are even life. None of that is life. Life is not your job. Life is not your car. But we got to get back to what is life. Life is the now moment. It's being present. And when you're present, you notice that a lot of these things regarding material possessions or how much money you have or success, any of that kind of stuff, it starts to dissolve and it becomes a lesser important thing, because no matter what happens to you in life regarding materialism, it has nothing to do with your soul. But if you feel like this is an evil realm, then there's some work to do. And if you feel like you can exit it, well then, why do you want to exit it? And what's so wrong about this place? And I get that. Like, I know that a lot of people, they're going to be like, but Jordan, there's a pedophilia ring going on in Hollywood right now, and Joe Biden wears a rubber mask, and he died 5 years ago, and it's a facade. None of that matters, though. Literally, none of that matters. No matter how nefarious or evil or terrible or demonic or satanic or whatever word you want to use, no matter how much conviction you have of that, what are you? Are you evil? And furthermore, You only were able to perceive this realm in the first place because you existed here. I know that I came here to be the greatest version of myself. I look at this incarnation called Jordan as a student in a dojo. I'm here to get all the belts. And I'm talking consciously. Like, I came here to access abundance. I didn't come here to name call or to say this thing is evil and that thing is good, because that all comes back to belief systems anyways. And belief is not an organic formula of consciousness. If anything, it's a foreign form of energy. And that's why the apex predator, or whom is the steward of this realm, utilizes keeping people fearful and believing in duality consciousness to keep them trapped. When you break past this duality consciousness, this idea of there's a good and there's an evil, you can actually start to analyze it from a different perspective for once. So, Patriot Eagle, look at all the beauty that surrounds you and walk in grace. And when you start to be grateful for all the beauty that is an extension of you, because here's what really matters, and the spell casting of what you said before. If this is an evil realm, therefore you are evil because you're an extension of all of what is here. You are soul. You are spirit. You are infinite consciousness. You are a light that never goes out. Because you are here, you have a ability to perceive all this. So I changed and I shifted the moment when I stopped looking at things as bad and evil and satanic and nefarious and awful and demonic, etc. My perspective changed because I felt what it feels like to not have time. And that took some work, took some discipline, and many heavy mushroom trips. But what really got me there was tapping into my creative essence. When I tapped into a creative essence, I learned that there's so much beauty here because I can design the beauty. Just like a woman gets to give birth to a child, the creator of life, the womb, the matrix. I don't look at this simulacrum or this experience as anything that could possibly be bad. I look at it as an opportunity. And in this opportunity, you get to be everything you want to be. You are what you believe. So stop believing and start resonating. And when you start resonating, you're no longer worried about this duality and you start looking at everything through the lenses of unity. Got a super chat from Matt Ball. I appreciate you, brother, sending you lots of love. He said, love making a live stream, and after connecting to Jordan personally, I have nothing but good to say, and I appreciate you so much, my friend and brother. I'll be in touch soon for another private call. Matt, that means a lot to me, brother, and I really appreciate your support, and it was amazing getting to connect with you on a call, and nothing but love and gratitude. And it's beautiful to connect with another person who's making music. I myself, a musician who is very passionate about art. I love hearing people who are successful in, figuring out a way to share their art with the world. So I appreciate you. Much love. Wishing you a beautiful rest of your weekend. Okay, I see some people from all the countries. You got Hungary. I've been to Budapest. It's beautiful. I had a really good time when I was there. Some amazing coffee shops and restaurants you would never imagine if you weren't from Eastern Europe. And it was super affordable, of course, but had a great time when I visited. somebody asked if I could talk about eczema. So eczema or psoriasis or any skin condition is just essentially a damaged lymphatic system. And what happens is, because the lymph is your body's disposal system, it's like your body's toilet. When it starts to become overflowed, like when your toilet starts to clog, the water will start spilling out. Well, in this case, it's the lymph that starts spilling out. When it starts spilling over, it goes into your bloodstream. And then your bloodstream starts to become toxic, and then you start to see the skin will react next, because your skin is the biggest organ on your body. So the epidermis is very, it desires to be slightly acidic. And there's so much to say specifically about any skin condition, but primarily it requires you changing what you consume. So change what you put in yourself, increase your state of hydration, and then furthermore, get rid of things that are creating a lymphatic response, one that is damaging the kidneys, and that's creating a response of the body that is highly inflammatory. And getting into the specifics is quite difficult, especially this early in a live stream. Sometimes I got to warm people up a little bit before we get there. But it's something I'm going to cover in depth in my upcoming expansion mastermind course, because I'm going to have a whole chapter called Heal Thyself. And in the Heal Thyself chapter, it's teaching people, what is this vessel? How do we, fix what's going on here? How do we become our own healer? And everything that I do, and perhaps you guys have all noticed, it's to have people walk away with something that they could apply to themselves, not something that creates reliance on me. I never vibed with that type of mentality. So I do expose quite often, every single week, things regarding how to consume, how to become more hydrated, how to prevent, toxins building up in the body, etc. But it is much more effective to just deliver a holistic protocol and explain everything else that's going on, because it's holistic. The biggest reason why people have a very hard time hearing the truth about food and diet and consumption is because they store trauma in their intestine. People literally are trauma storers. And when you combat somebody's belief system, it hits them in a place that they've never felt before. And the number one way to create that effect in somebody is by talking about food. It is more personal than talking about religion or pretty much anything. So the long and short of it is, increase your hydration. That's interstitial hydration. I'm not just talking about drinking pure water. Remove things that are most likely creating some sort of inflammatory effect on your body, which therefore is creating an effect into your kidneys, spilling over lymph into the bloodstream, and creating what looks like damaged skin or skin rashes or anything of that sort. But yeah, if it's the skin, it's the lymphatic system. It's very damaged and it needs to be healed. Stop putting stuff on your skin. Stop putting stuff on your skin. Putting stuff on your skin is just blocking up the ability for the body to detox effectively. So it's very important that if you guys are trying to do something regarding your skin, there's one thing between washing something and keeping yourself clean. And of course, like if it's the skin on your face, you want to exfoliate that because there's dead skin cells. But outside of that, if we're talking about a skin condition, there is no cream, there's no ointment, none of that will ever, ever, ever work long term. And most likely what it will do is create an even more inflammatory response. It'll start destroying your hormones, any regularity you have regarding your hormonal system, the glandular system as a whole. I could go pretty deep into it, but just to be basic and simple, your body is dehydrated, and in a state of dehydration, it suffers to be able to operate properly. Your body is a water system. You must treat it like one. Whisper Media, sending you lots of love. Appreciate you showing up. OG Wolf. All right, let me make it through some questions. Wiz, Stee, I appreciate you. Sending you lots of love. Thank you for joining the YouTube membership. Daniel Leo says, we are born to be different in order to operate in harmony, but we live in a world that attempts to program us to all be the same. So we are experiencing what could be a symphony, and that is what this live stream is. One player is, on the cello, one person is on the flute, one person's on the violin, one person's playing the keyboard, and there's someone up there that's orchestrating it, etc. There's someone who wrote the music piece. There's someone who printed the paper out to show the music that they're reading while they play. There's so many players here, and we're all here in harmony, like this individual said. But the idea that they're attempting to program us to all be the same, I'll interject with this, and something that I believe is hyper specific to us in the community right here, just this small little group. You were brought here with antivirus software. Nothing can parasite you. You are literally a divergent. No matter how fucking hard they try, it just doesn't work. Realize that. Honor that. When you start to realize and honor how incredible you are, then it doesn't matter what the desire is of the apex predator. It doesn't matter if they try to make everyone think the same. It is irrelevant. You're going to attract the people who operate on your frequency, which are other beings who came here who have antivirus software built into them. Their programming language is based on the code of love, and everything else is based on a code that accepts fear and gives fear for free to the elite, free of charge. What I tell people is, when you become aware of this, make your prana expensive. Make it very, very, very difficult for anyone to get your vital source. If you let somebody get your life force energy, they're essentially getting the best of you. Share your life force energy or your prana with those that operate at your frequency, and get rid of everything else, and you will see your whole reality starts to change regarding the community you're in. Kevin Crombie, I appreciate the super chat, sending you lots of love. You said, hey Jordan, I want to thank you for continuing to be a guiding voice for light beings awaking from amnesia. I love that. If you had a 2-year-old, what instrument would you have them start with? And then you said, I love you. I love you too. I appreciate you, Kevin. So if I had a child, what instrument would I have them start with? I would have them, maybe what you could do, and I think this would be a fun little day trip, is go with them to a music store or play music and play different styles of music and see what they resonate more with. It's really hard for you as a parent to be perfect, to pick the perfect thing for your children to do. And I wouldn't want to say a blanket statement like go learn the piano or go learn the guitar, because ultimately it's what the being resonates with. But I've seen it before where a little kid will go with his maybe the father or mother or whatever is in a band and they're a musician, and they go to the music store and the kid just is hyper focused on one specific thing. They look at the drum set and they're they love it. They run over to it. It's like they gravitate to it. Remember, children are very, very, very pure. They're very pure. They don't need language and all this other nonsense to remember what they love. When they've been reincarnated here, they just are so much more pure and they have a clean slate. And when you just allow them to really figure out what it is, they're going to go straight to where they want to be. It's pretty interesting. But I've seen it happen before where that's happened with children, specifically with things like going to concert for the first time, or seeing somebody play music in a subway station. You know, they see somebody playing the violin and they don't care at all, but then they walk over and they see somebody playing, like drums on paint cans, and they just can't stop watching it. Like, they're obsessed with it. You know what I mean? So that's how I would do it. I would just let the kid figure out what it is. You know, maybe it won't even like music. Maybe it doesn't want to be a musician. Maybe it wants to be a visual artist. Maybe your kid wants to just sculpt or dance or, something like that. So there's so many ways to go about it, but that'd probably be the way I would do it. I would just turn it into a fun weekend, trip to the local music store. Got 500 people in here. I appreciate every single one of you. Digital orgy. They said, I'm so sick of the slavery. What slavery? You're on a computer right now looking at a live stream. You're hanging out with 500 beautiful, high vibrational beings that are just spreading love. Like, there is the mindset of that you're sick of the slavery is because you're imprisoned by your own mind. You got to move from your mind to your heart, and you're going to start to see reality a little bit differently. There is no slavery. The only slavery that exists is within your own mind. And your mind programming makes you believe that that is such. But there is something that is so much more to this. Remember that you are consciousness. You are not your mind. You're not your body. And your mind and body are the same thing. The central nervous system is here to be a teacher, actually. It's here to teach you, hey, wake up. It's tapping you on the forehead and saying, hey, you know all these feelings and all this stimulus and all this yesterday and tomorrow stuff? All of this stuff that has nothing to do with this very moment? You feel that? How do you like the way that feels? Oh, you don't like it? So do something about it. Right? And who's going to be that real with you? I mean, I'll be that real with you, but it doesn't matter how real I am with you. It's how real you are with yourself. There's no slavery. It's called freedom. Freedom. Free crown chakra. Freedom. That's why they set this whole world up 2 years ago with a coronavirus. The corona, the crown of thorns, the crown of wisdom. The virus is consciousness, and it's the lack thereof. People don't want to put in the work to remember what they are because they're waiting around to have people tell them what they are. I know it requires a little bit of discipline, but ultimately at the end of the day, you start to realize that this isn't slavery. This is whatever you make it to be. There's nothing tragic about this. This is magic. When you tap into the magic, this world gets lit. Actually, we've covered a couple things that are really they're relevant to my YouTube thumbnail of the swan and the alligator forming the Ouroboros and coming together to make this analemma, this infinity symbol. So Mr. Jansen said something that is very important. He said that, isn't exiting the same as entering? Yes. The portal of time is just it's just a vacuum. And this existence that we have, it's linear because you believe it is linear because you've identified this experience with mortality, which is connected to this vessel, this incarnation we call a body. But you are not your body and you're not your mind. You have a mind, so use it. See, that's the problem. It's not that the mind is even that bad. It's just no one uses it. And I'm not even talking about the fact that humans use 10% and dolphins use 40. That's scientism nonsense. It's irrelevant. When you use your mind, you actually tap into some of the things that I spoke about a little bit earlier regarding ego, one of the aspects of the immortal self. Call it soul or spirit or whatever you like. See, when you use the mind, you start to be able to access skill. And that is where you enter mastery. Mastery is through the repetitive remembering and discipline of the basics, of the fundamentals. A master is somebody who keeps doing what worked over and over and over again. Someone who is not a master is somebody who is caught up in shiny object syndrome. They're always trying to do different things every other day, every other month. They have no discipline in sticking to something. And consistency is what creates mastery. And mastery allows you to actually be something that you might actually desire to be. It's easier said than done, of course, because look at the world around us. There's so few extraordinary people. But I'll let you in on something. All 500, 600, however many people are here with me right now, you have your work cut out for you. You have your work cut out for you because you have something very few people have access to, which is the remembering. That's it. Once you remember what you are and why you're here and what your purpose is, it's easy because you're no longer caught up in tomorrow. You no longer worry about death. You're no longer worried about that kind of stuff. It's irrelevant. Purpose takes precedent over yesterday and tomorrow. And it becomes a sense of urgency. When you love something so much unconditionally, you don't wait till tomorrow to do it. There's no waiting. You just do. Love Shack, I appreciate your super chat. Sending you love. You said, how can I naturally heal my teeth and hearing? My front teeth are spreading apart. Also, my hearing was slightly degraded over the last few years. How can I heal my hearing? Well, it's very difficult. One of the things you might want to do regarding your hearing is go check out, you should go to a doctor for sure. See if you have damaged eardrums. See if perhaps it could be buildup of earwax, could be lots of hair. I'm not trying to get gross, but that literally might just be it. Like some people, they think they're losing hearing in one ear, and in actuality, they just have a rock solid piece of earwax that has been compounded through using these Q-tips. You know what I'm saying? So just go check out, go to just a regular, or you could even go to urgent care if you're somebody who doesn't have insurance and you don't want to deal with going to specifically a doctor that deals with ears or hearing. Anyways, that could be something to look into. Just make sure your ears are fully clean, there's no blockages, and that alone could be super helpful. So regarding the teeth, one of the best ways to actually heal the teeth is taking a break from using them. So that's one of the nice qualities to having a fast. Because when you fast from consuming, or let's just say consistent mastication, just consistently chewing, that alone, especially if you're consuming foods that are very hard, or if you're eating meat and you're doing a lot of chewing, or perhaps you're somebody who's eating a lot of dried fruits and you're not properly cleaning your teeth and the dried fruit is sticking to the back of your, you're going to start to develop, these issues, whether it be gum disease or gingivitis, any form of issues with the teeth. But with the concept of the separation and perhaps damage, like the acute damage, the physiological damage to the teeth, it could very well be taken care of if you do two things, one of which is oil pulling. So when you practice your oil pulling, I would suggest it with sesame oil. And do not do it for more than 5 minutes. A lot of people, especially just randoms on the internet, they talk about doing oil pulling for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. That is wrong. The reason is when you start doing it for over like 10 minutes, you're just recycling toxins back into the crevices of your gum line. You're trying to get rid of toxins, but you're just putting it right back in you. So there's a curve of diminishing returns. When you practice doing oil pulling, do it for like the first year, 5 minutes, like every other day, every other 3 days. Go slow. Go slow that you create a health, like a lifestyle change. Do not do oil pulling for 30 minutes. That is ridiculous. I don't know how the internet gets away with this nonsense, but it's a thing. And you guys know me. I don't clown on anyone. I'm not trying to point any fingers or speak negativity, but it's just facts. Everything that I read about oil pulling consistently gives a protocol that is way too overdone. It's not good. So do the oil pulling, and a second thing would just be take a fast, whether it be you could do a juice fast, but you really want to clean your teeth out afterwards. Like whenever you're drinking juice, when you're done, drink water, slush in your mouth, spit it out, etc. But fasting in general is just a way to heal any part of your body. But oil pulling specifically could be very helpful for you. Ribbitism. I appreciate you. That's a really kind super chat that you sent. I really appreciate you, sending you lots of love. You said much love and gratitude. I'm a calmer, more composed being thanks to your insights and perspective. I understand health is holistic. Wish you could guide a soul to cancer treatment, both parents passing through chemo currently. First of all, I appreciate you, sending you love, sending healing energy to your parents. But, chemo is really just like, I just can't really say anything good about it. It is really just, I don't want to go there because it's kind of sad, but by the time somebody's developed cancer, we're talking about a series of just improper ways of treating the vessel. And when you add on things like enhanced, like spiked cortisol all the time from mistreating yourself, whether that be with alcohol or just being stressed, like just literally being stressed. People that have overnight jobs where they wake up at like midnight and work a shift overnight. Like, remember, the human species is a diurnal creature. We shouldn't be working at night. That alone could keep your cortisol heightened to a degree where you're going to store excessive body fat. It's going to be less likely for you to develop muscle tissue or hold muscle tissue. When you have those two things going on plus stress, and then you're working under UV fluorescent light all day, there's so much to be said about it. But then by the time you've made all those choices and then you're diagnosed with cancer, I mean, most people go in that chemo route. It's not working in their favor, like it is really designed to essentially destroy the vessel. And it sucks. It should be criminal how that shit is even practiced in a professional setting. Like, anyone that isn't a psychopath would see that chemo and all these modern cancer treatments are absolute bullshit. Like, the human body, it will change cellularly from what you put in it. So if you've been eating improperly and doing shit to destroy yourself, well, then you're creating an environment where it's very difficult for your body to detoxify naturally. Your cells literally become stupid. And when your cells start to become stupid, they'll gang up on healthy cells to try to dominate them. And then you end up with these problems. It is quite important for people to remember that healing is a process from within. And if it can be healed from within, then that means it happened from within. So even if we have a world that has 5G and fucking chemtrails and all this bullshit that people are so scared of, like, and I know that's going to hurt people's feelings. I really don't care. What matters most is what is within and the mind state. When you become protected through remembering what you are, when you know that this is all just part of the show and that all the fear that comes out regarding whatever, it's all just keeping people in this maya, in this illusion. So I really appreciate your super chat. Send you lots of love, ribbitism. But when it comes to specifically cancer, it's difficult. Now, with that being said, it's reverse things. Everything is possible. Everything is reversible. But we're talking about dry fasting and Shivambu. Like dry fasting, you really need to kick into that fucking soon. The longer the body keeps going while consuming food and having to digest food while it's in that state, the current state of being given chemo treatments and everything else, I mean, you're talking about like you need to speed up the process of healing now. There's no fucking waiting if they want to be alive. But outside of that, you know, you really just gotta... Most people don't want to make that change, especially later in life. Most people don't want to try doing that stuff. So appreciate you. Much love. X27. Oh no. I appreciate your super chat, but you said, do you think eating human flesh is healthy? What the fuck? No. Eating any flesh is not... No, we're not designed to eat flesh. We're not fucking lions. We don't have the digestive system to deal with eating flesh. That's why we cook it and season it and deep fry it and make scientific literature talking about how great protein is, even though the protein they're eating came from an animal that was eating grass. I mean, no. Anytime that would be part of the conversation is probably for survival. And if you're needing to eat a human being for survival, that means that you're in an environment and a setup that is not even a part of Mother Nature. Like, Mother Nature doesn't really have organic environments that are that scarce. And if it is, then it wasn't designed for your species to begin with. And what I mean by that is if you're outside of the equatorial band, you're in northern Canada, Saskatchewan territory, and whatever's going on with the Inuits, that's not a place that humans should be. And that's why their life expectancy and their health is horrendous. You take vitamin D out of the conversation and it's still horrendous. But anyways, no. Don't eat people. Don't eat any flesh. I mean, you don't see any animal in nature really go after its own species, which I think is really interesting. All the animals that are truly carnivorous, they don't eat each other. You never see like some lion go hop on another lion and just eat it. Maybe it will attack it. It'll try to hurt it for a specific reason. Maybe because it wants to make its food source easy. You know, it's like a trap. Like if you have two lion tribes and you see like a group of hyenas and your lion tribe wants to get those hyenas, you might attack the other lion group just to get them away from what will become your food later. You know what I'm saying? But they wouldn't go just eat a fucking lion and start eating their whole body and the vital organs. And no, they would never do that. But the opposing species for sure. And they have a digestive system, gut microbiome, they have the salival pH, they have the lymph system, the blood, everything, the jaw structure. I mean, you name it, it's designed for flesh. You take the human vessel and organism, nothing is designed for such at all. Somebody... Okay, I'll move past that. Okay, beautiful. Let's get this to 600 people. I think we could get this to 700 people. I know. Some people are talking about tea tree oil and argan oil and these different types of oils, and it's fine. Like, sure. At best, they lock in the hydration that your body has. But really, the solution is hydrating the vessel. You could use all the oil you want. Like, it's fine. There's nothing. I'm not against that at all. And go for it. If it makes you feel good, if you like buying the product and all that, I'd just rather eat oranges. Like, I'd rather eat grapes and watermelon and take care of it from within. Your body produces enough of these oils. And if anything, by adding exogenous oil onto the epidermis and onto the scalp, you are preventing the body from its natural ability to create the oil that your body creates. So think about that. Your body is perfect. All the hormonal, mechanisms are in place. You just have to put the proper fuel inside of the body. When you put the proper fuel inside of the body, the rest is taken care of. Sometimes your body needs an oil change. We could call that a fast, a break away from mastication, a break away from having to digest solid food. And it could be done in several forms. But your body, this vessel, it is literally like a car. It moves from point A to point B. It has motion. It's not even like a temple. People say the body's a temple, but temples just stay there. Your body is doing all sorts of crazy shit. A woman's body is giving birth to a baby. I mean, think about the hormonal structure and journey over that 9-10 months, right? Over that 8 to 10 months. That's extreme. So the fuel we put in the vessel, it needs to be first and foremost hydrative. And then there's other things that are secondary, tertiary, etc. But the oil is not what's solving the problem. Like, what solves the problem, what creates the long-term solution is how you consume. Somebody said, isn't it slavery that we have to pay 40% of our income to avoid prison? Well, first of all, you made that income because the government designed the economy in the first place. So if you really wanted to go down that route, just study the difference between rich people and wealthy people. Rich is very easy to acquire. Wealthy, on the other hand, is a totally different ballgame. Rich people know how to generate cash. They know how to generate money. Wealthy people know how to keep their money. So study wealthy people and stop studying rich people, and you will see the machinations of the tax system. So while some people think it's a prison or a form of slavery, there's a very small group of the population that has mastered how to leverage on debt, and they are aware of the tax system, the tax code. They can get, citizenship in multiple countries, whatever it takes. Just learn it. Learn it. You could call it whatever name you want, but the problem is whatever negative name you call it, well, then whatever was positive about it, how is that? Do you see the discrepancy here? It's like an all or nothing kind of mentality. You feel me? For me, instead of calling it names, just fucking learn it. You want to get more successful? Well, study people more successful than you. You want to become better at something in life? Find a mentor. Find somebody who has more awareness. If there's something that you feel is hurting or harming your reality, go find somebody that's figured out a way to not make it hurt or harm their reality and study under them. You feel me? This is how we become solution-based. I want this community that, I'm spearheading, I really want it to be about solutions. Fuck the problems. Let's move past that shit. Seriously. I know it doesn't make me popular to say that, because people love problems. People love dwelling. They love having some enemy, some boogeyman. Fuck that shit. Like, become divine. I know you are. Like, I need to be like mom who like walks in your room in the morning and throws water on your face and is like, hey, you ready to become fucking great today? Oh no? You want to go back to sleep? Okay, see you later. See you next Friday. But it's always up to the individual to say, oh, this guy is really, he's tough. It's a little tough on me, but like it's undeniable. It starts with you realizing that it's always coming back to you. You could point fingers, you could play the blame game, you could say this and that all you want, but like ultimately, is that a solution or is that you dwelling in problems? If you're overweight, if you don't like the way you look, if you're having a hard time getting a partner, if you suck at a skill that you want to get better at, whatever it fucking is, I have 24 hours in the day, you have 24 hours in the day. Invest your time in those hours instead of spending your time on them. Make that switch. Make that switch today. If you want to lose weight, stop all this, oh, I'll go on a diet in 2 weeks, I'll cut. No, stop that shit. Today, now. That's the present moment. And if you're not ready to tap into that discipline, well, then guess what? You're just going to wait around for the world to continue to shift around you. Like you're just going to keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And you see what that behavior creates. It creates the people that are waiting for the good guys in the government to come change what do you mean good guys in the government? People like in this QAnon bullshit, the white hats or the deep state. Anyone who uses the term deep state, like, come on, wake up. You know who the good guy is? Go walk over to your bathroom, look in the mirror. That's the good guy. Like, what the fuck, man? It's just the pity party with some of these people. Really, like we all need to move past being so based in problems. Become based in solutions instead and see your reality change. See the people around you become abundant because that's what you're going to have to be. This is a very small collective of people that are really tuned in. The more in tune you get and the more mastery you develop and the more aware you are, you're going to be a shining light. You're going to become a soul, like you're going to become the sun, and you're going to have your little solar system, people that are around you, players in your game. Like you select the players, make them the best, most lovely, most enlightened beings you could possibly find. It might require you scrapping the whole community that you belong to right now. It might, maybe it requires you to get rid of some dead weight. That's fine. Not everyone is here to be part of your code. Sometimes you'll know who the dead weight is when there's people in your reality that are using you to benefit their code. That's not how this works. And that's where we start getting into people being shisty with each other. We have gang culture, we have criminality, we have people being immoral. It's all this nonsense about I need to win, I need to dominate, I need to compete against you, I need to be better than you. Stop trying to be better than someone else. Become your best self. And stop trying to change shit for other people. If you want to lose weight because you want to lose weight. If you want to get better at playing video games or whatever the fuck, like do it for yourself. Like when you start doing things for self, the fulfillment is a totally different vibrational frequency. I don't know. I just thought of something random. Whatever. The point here is about the personal responsibility and figuring out a way to be based in solutions rather than dwelling on problems. And what I see quite often in the spiritual or new age or even these communities that are coming, that are growing quite rapidly because of whatever new theories they have. And they're still talking about these terms like deep state and good guys. And, this is creating the savior complex and boogeyman complex. This needs to go away. If you want to tap into your divinity, you have to move past this idea that there's some external boogeyman that's fucking up your life. X27. I'm just thinking about your last question about eating people. Okay, you got another super chat. I appreciate you, sending you lots of love. You said, at the moment, I'm training my mind to connect to my past self and future self. I think this timeline is usually like this. No question, just my quote. Well, how could there be a past self and a future self? Who's your past self and your future self? Like, I know you didn't ask a question, but it's important that maybe you take a moment to think about what you just said, because that's like a spell. It's a spell you casted. And it sounds like a cute quote. It's cute, but do you really believe such a thing? Is there a past and future self? Well, there could only be if time was real, and time is not real. Time is an illusion created by our species. Just the concept that there is a past and a future self is relinquishing the now moment, being present. That's why I say identity self and higher self. Identity self is this moron that wants to be in all these places that aren't even here. And I know that self. I've been that self for a while. I know how to tap into that self when needed. And that is not the ego. That is what people who are at the lower levels believe ego is, but it is not. Higher self is something that we can all tap into, and that requires being aware of the present moment and getting rid of this idea of yesterday and tomorrow. When you're trapped in this idea of future self and past self and lifetimes and all of these concepts, I get it. I know why people like them, but for me, it just doesn't resonate because I feel timeless. I feel like there's this infinite quality to my spirit. And I've had some experiences that really allowed me to tap into that. And furthermore, this is how powerful I know this is. I've had calls with people that I'm coaching, mentoring, or just people that are, booking a client call with me. And I've said things to them that have made them just like shook, where they're like, holy shit, I remember now. Perhaps that's a skill that I have, but furthermore, like, that is what I want to bring out of everyone. Like, really, that is the one thing that I want to bring into everyone's realization. It's that you are suffering from amnesia of what you are. And what you are is not a mind, it's not a body, it's not an identity. Sure, you have those things for right now. For right now, you have those things, but they are not you. There is no past self. There is no future self because past and future aren't real. They are illusions of the mind and the mind programming. And what makes us feel like they are real is because we have pictures hanging up. We have, this live stream, it's going to be posted and you're going to be able to listen to it in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. But it is not animated. There is no animation in it anymore. It only has animation right now. The people who are listening to this live, you're getting a vibrational essence. You're getting prana that you can never receive 10 months, 10 years down the line. It just isn't. If we were to all hang out together right now in person and spend time together, it will not be the same as if somebody videotaped it and played it back to us in 10 years. It just isn't. It doesn't have the same essence. You can capture time the same way your soul was captured in your body. I'll say that again. You can capture time the same way your soul was captured in this body. That is merely all it is. Don't worry about the capturing of time. Put your focus on your state of being. When you focus on your state of being, you start to live. You no longer are trapped in the existence of what people call the game of life, because the game of life is another illusion. There is no game. There is just play. It's great to see 600 people hanging out with us. Beautiful. Gonna drink some water. So this will be the last thing I say about food, and then we're not talking about food anymore unless there's like a general question about holistic detoxification or things regarding that. But somebody said that they are struggling to gain weight, or they've had issues with a vegan diet. Well, you want to know why you had issues with a vegan diet? Because it has the word die in it. Any diet is it. What is it? You're spell casting yourself into it from the start. And regarding the concept of losing weight happens in caloric restriction, or when your body has been dehydrated and you've lost water weight, or liver glycogen, muscle glycogen stored in the muscle. You could lose weight in a lot of ways. Weight does not matter. Lean body mass matters. So when people are struggling with specific diets, it's because it's a fucking diet. The human being is like every other animal. The only thing that makes us different is we have food choice. There is a single food that we should be eating, just like any other non-domesticated animal or a non-scavenger, which we aren't even actually scavengers. We don't eat garbage. We don't enjoy eating plastic or eating cardboard. Like a vulture will literally eat a half a box of cardboard if that was what it took to get to pizza. That vulture wouldn't even have pizza if we weren't cooking it. So, of course, when we have the conversation of scavengers, we have the conversations of human beings, which are things that have food choice for the most, or domesticated animals. But again, it's domesticated because we domesticated it. We are designed for a singular food, just like every other animal. We are designed for a very simplistic diet. We decide not to do that. So when we start getting into the concept of struggling with weight loss or struggling with gaining muscle or any of that stuff, it's because of a caloric expenditure versus caloric intake conversation. Are you putting in more energy than your body burns? And furthermore, are you stimulating muscle through any form of hypertrophic exercise? Like, are you going to the gym? Are you doing calisthenics? Are you working your body? If people just sit around all day in a full lotus position and do a dry fast, after time, you're going to start to lose a significant amount of muscle tissue. So if you go on a change of your diet where you are eating an omnivorous diet of 2,500 calories a day, and then you swapped to eating 1,500 calories a day because you just can't seem to get the proper food intake, you're going to lose weight. And if you don't do any hypertrophic exercise, you're going to lose muscle mass. Protein does not matter because everything physical in this world has protein. If you give a sufficient amount of stimulus to the muscle, it will maintain and it will grow depending on your genetics, depending on how new you are to training, etc. It's a very detailed conversation. But people love blaming diets. See, I'm plant-based. Flesh is toxic. We're not designed to eat it. We're not designed to eat animal byproducts at all either. They're destroying our bodies. The top 10 causes of mortality are due to food. Number 3 is malpractice. But the reason for the malpractice is typically because somebody goes into the doctor in the first place because they ate bad food. So get past the diet, get past preconceived notions that are focused around the concept of food choice, and learn about what food really is. Learn about what the human vessel is, how it's designed, and how it operates at its best capacity. And if you're trying to change something about yourself regarding the way you look, well, what are your goals? What are you trying to do here? Some people are just changing to plant-based because they believe that it's better for Mother Nature. I mean, that's pretty loaded, but that's what people think. Again, like I have a very unpopular way of perceiving this because I've been doing it for a while now. I actually came from specialization in nutrition and in exercise and all of that way before I even got into finances, way before I even knew what cryptocurrency was. So I have a lot of background in it. I've done multiple 3-day dry fasts. I've done a month juice fast. I've done several 5-day water fasts. I know what it's like to get shredded down to the bone. I know what it's like to get sickly skinny due to over fasting. I know what it's like to be overweight. I've been through it all. I've helped people train. I've helped people, put on muscle mass, lose fat. I mean, you name it. That is why I'm so quick and able to help with this conversation. But what I learned along the way is that what's the most important is how do you feel? So regarding a fruit-based approach, plant-based approach, that will create the best feeling if done effectively. Issue is people are too in their heads and they think there's some really sophisticated protocol to doing nutrition. And in actuality, no. The human body is very simple. And the reason why the human body is in a consistent state of dehydration and it is in a consistent state of inflammation is because you made it so complicated. The human body isn't designed to be that way. It is a very simple system, and it's a water system. So anything that you do that is of complexity, it's going to start to fuck up the vital organs. It'll show in your skin. It'll show in your hair. It'll show in your nails. It'll show in your eyes. I could look at somebody and in 5 seconds determine where they're at. And some people, because they have a 6-pack abs, they think they're healthy. And again, anyone could get a 6-pack if you just simply diet down through caloric restriction. It's very simple, actually. Anyways, don't trust shit because of optics. Don't trust shit because it has a fancy name or it's trendy. Try things. What allowed me to become more advanced in this is I tried lots of things. And the more I tried, the more I took note, the more I was, actually scientific about my approach. I learned what brought me the balance of not only my physique, but my consciousness, what made me feel a heightened awareness. And the thing that gives you the heightened awareness is by removing food that is literally adrenochrome. So anyone out there that wants to talk about eating a fucking carnivore diet or drinking milk, or you're literally consuming adrenochrome. So if that's what you're into, go for it. If that's what you believe is the right way to go, congratulations. I mean, it blows my mind when people are like, but Jordan Peterson did a carnivore diet. Yeah, he's literally depressed. He hates his life. He's in the lowest vibrational frequency I've ever seen a being at his performance at. He hates himself. Depression is it's not the mind. It's not solely the mind. It's the gut. It's every chakra, actually. That's something that this man clearly doesn't know of. And if he does, that's sad, because it's very sad to see somebody who has so much awareness and so much wisdom be unable to disconnect from something that is completely make-believe and in his mind in the first place. See, the thing is when you create an environment for the body that enters back into simplicity, meaning when you are eating cupcakes and ice cream and orange juice, that's from concentrate, and and the form of the orange juice was in a mimosa. And then you cut all that shit out and start eating just meat. You go on a carnivore diet. No shit, you're gonna reverse the inflammatory nature of your body because you're making your consumption for the day so much more simple. Duh. But people don't realize this because they have shiny object syndrome. They want to try new things. The new thing works. It worked for them. Then they start touting it around like it's the best thing since sliced bread. It's not how the body, like, it's very simple actually. And it's quite psychological. But that's the thing. Like, furthermore, when it comes to food, when it comes to any of that stuff, it's a tough conversation to have. It's usually the turning point for a lot of people with my work. I've gotten hate mail. I've gotten death threats. I've gotten the whole 9 yards from speaking the way I do about it. And it's because I'm not giving too much of a preface on this truth. I'm just speaking a truth through experience. And this experience I understand is not everyone is as transparent because it's not sexy. It's much, much sexier to tell people a lie, to tell people what they want to hear. And the logical side of people, it's like people are too in their minds. So much so that they don't even use it. Common sense has been drained from them because of wanting to make things complex. Sebastian, I appreciate your super chat. Let's get back. Oh, is this about crypto? You found massive RSI divergence from June 2014 to August 12th. Seeing any numerology on this here, Shmita? What type of divergence did you find? Did you find divergence with RSI and price? Is it a bullish divergence, bearish divergence? And what chart are you looking at? Are you looking at a Bitcoin chart? Are you looking at the DXY? Are you looking at the gold chart? Like, Sebastian, I really appreciate your this, but like it's kind of lacking in context and information, you know? But your question about this, and I'll also say I don't want to do any discussion on crypto or that today when I do these live streams, but I appreciate your super chat regarding the numerology. I also don't even know what you're asking because you said seeing any numerology on this here, and then you said Shemitah 8-7. So yeah, it's just lacking context, Sebastian. Maybe you can rewrite the comment again and just at me. And then if I'm getting through these comments and I see the highlighted comment, I'll go ahead and answer further. But I just really don't know what you're asking. The question about the TA side of things, I don't know specifically what chart and what asset really. And the numerological question, I don't really know at all what's going on there. But I really appreciate you. Sending you love. Preston, I appreciate the super chat. Sending you lots of love. You said, what's your take on brushing teeth? Love you, man. You've brought me to a god status. I love that. I appreciate you, Preston. Okay, 1 second. I just have to do something really quickly. So regarding brushing teeth, oil pulling is definitely superior, but depending on the types of foods you eat and depending on how quickly after you eat you wash out your mouth, that could be a determining factor. So what I always tell people regarding teeth health is to wash your mouth out with water aggressively every time you're done eating a meal. Just go to the bathroom if you're at a restaurant and just do it, because it's going to loosen up anything that might be stuck to your teeth. And that is really, especially if you're somebody who's eating a lunch and then you're staying out, you're maybe going to a bar, you're hanging out all night, etc. Like, you don't want food particles sticking to your teeth. And the one thing that's really great about, consuming things like lemon water or eating fresh fruit is it's very astringent. So fresh fruit actually it'll clean your teeth. Specifically things that are more astringent, like grapes, or more tropical fruits that are tree ripened. But I understand that's very hard to access. So there's also nothing wrong with brushing your teeth. Get a bamboo toothbrush, and I just don't recommend using toothpaste. I don't recommend using any chemical, even these like hippie toothpastes. There's no need for it. You literally do not need toothpaste. Your saliva is very clean, and your mouth is a self-cleaning system. When you eat, when you're masticating food, specifically cooked foods, grains, things that are sticking to the teeth, again, just practice sloshing water in your mouth at the end of every meal as soon as possible. If you know you're going to be out for a long period of time and you just finished a meal and you're unable to brush your teeth for whatever reason, just use the water trick. It's really nice. And then like once every 3 days, just go for the oil pulling. Do a little sesame oil, cold pressed, and then go for 5 minutes and make it a lifestyle change every even once a week. Just once a week is fine. If you're somebody who's like really suffering from intense gum bleeding, gingivitis, the gums are receding, etc., then kick it up a notch, Consider the protocol with every other day with the oil pulling. But the physical nature of brushing your teeth is fine. Just don't use any toothpaste. I don't care if it has, the people that get super into the tea tree oil and all these ingredients in their toothpaste. You're wasting your time and you're wasting your money. That's not what's helping your teeth. We've made it this far in life without a toothpaste factory making things of toothpaste. And people that believe that we had poor teeth health in the past is because they were taught that through the narrative, which again, it's called his story. His story. It's a narrative. It's a lie. Our teeth health got specifically worse when we started eating heavily processed foods, and when we started taking in all of these toothpastes and, going to the dentist one time a year, getting fluoride and all of this shit. Let the body heal. That's really what a lot of this comes back to. Let the body heal. Somebody mentioned something about the banner on the video. So the reason I put the banner over this was because I just had so many people asking me, Jordan, where do I find links to your work? Where do I find this? Where do I find that? So that's the reason. It's not for my own enjoyment. I don't even look at the banner. I'm unable to see the banner. I did it to cut out work. And the mods, I hope, have appreciated it, because a lot of the time, the mods are helping answer that question, and I just want to make their life easier as well. So having the banner with the Patreon on top, probably going to have the website added soon as well. It's just to make things easier and to not have to repeat things. It's not for aesthetics or any of that. Honestly, a lot of people have contacted me and told me that they don't even watch the the stream. They just listen to it like a podcast. Sorry, it took a second. I just needed to move something around really quickly. Back at it. Radiation matters. Sending you lots of love. Appreciate you. Thank you for showing up in the chat. X27, I appreciate your super chat. You said last time you told that famous people are like only bloodline and many of them half man, half women. Can you explain more? I work in this industry. Okay, so what I was talking about was probably the famous elite celebrities. Most of them are born hermaphrodite. They have both sexual, or at least visible sexual organs, and they're groomed accordingly. So whatever their hormonal response is, and of course this is like up to the parents and the doctor and everything else that's going on, that's usually the gender that they end up going with. And I would imagine that one of the bigger reasons why this happens in larger numbers for them is because of cloning. I don't know how spicy you guys want to get with this, but yeah. So regarding the bloodline, that just is what it is. Like all people in higher levels of politics, all of these secret societies that you guys hear about, all these people that are able to make it onto the world stage at the highest level, they're all bloodline related. Their bloodline goes back to Sumerian times. They're all part of the club. There's nothing, when they talk about having to do these initiations and rituals and this and that, that's for the lower level exoteric parts of the club. But the people that are bloodline, like ordained, they don't have to go through these rituals. They're the ones performing the rituals on people, if anything. So when it comes to this elite ring of celebrity, whomever you want to call them, yeah, they're all interwoven. And they ritualize them accordingly to how well they behave. So when you see someone at younger ages get ritualized in whatever form, whether it be a humiliation ritual or a blood sacrifice or something dealing with one of their children or one of their family members, it is most likely because they went against protocol. And they rarely ever hurt or harm each other. I mean, it's part of, even in the Talmud, they talk about how anything that's us is not a enemy. Anything that's a goyim, anyone who is not us, is the enemy, and we're willing to sacrifice them, to murder them, to kill them, to lie about them, whatever it takes in order for us to maintain posture. But the idea of the being born hermaphroditic or whatever's going on with that side of things, that's a big push regarding the transgender community. That's a bigger side of it. And there was a time where it was really popular, if you remember, for them to talk about things like plastic surgery, and like we saw what happened with Michael Jackson. I mean, there was a lot of people during that time, maybe the early 2000s, late 1990s into the early 2000s, they were just always talking about people getting plastic surgery all the time. And now they don't really discuss it too often, but what they've started to discuss is things like the transgender movement. And really what's going on here is probably a multitude of things. Could be the vibrational frequency on this earth is not keeping up with the physicality of where these beings are at. Like, that's a huge thing, like as the frequency shifts, not everyone makes it. Not everyone physiologically is going to do well, going to bode well in this moment. And I know that's a little bit deep for people, but just hang in there with me, because we know for a fact there's been a push of specific narratives and specific movements, and they've tried to get it indoctrinated into the children for a reason, because they want people to get used to this kind of stuff. And it's not just about demoralization or immorality. It's so much deeper than that. It really is. It's about restructuring the consciousness and getting people to fall for the illusion of the sexuality side of it. Like it's pretty wild, the agenda, how deep it is. I think people are sometimes worried with elites where they're like, oh, that one actress is really beautiful, and you find out that she's a man. Like her Adam's apple is like bigger than, it's like, how do you guys not see this? I saw a picture the other, like a month ago of one of them. I forgot the name. The one that's with Machine Gun Kelly. Holy moly, man. Like her neck looks so scary. I suspect there's a deeper purpose behind talking about the shape-shifting agenda and the lizard conversation, the whole thing that, like, what's his name brought to the populace, David Icke. There's a lot of people at one point that were really, really, like, passing around the shape-shifting lizard thing. And I'm not here to say that I don't believe it or I don't agree with it. That's not really the point. The bigger reason to bring it up is because it's in perfect alignment with the confusion of what's happening today. It's all kind of there, just enough to the point where, like, we look at some of these people and we're like, are you even a human? But it's like, while people who are conspiring and believing that they're a shape-shifting lizard, I'm seeing a woman with a fucking humongous Adam's apple. Or, like, she's wearing yoga pants and I could see her junk. Or, like, her hip to shoulder ratio is off. Her jawline is off. And I'm like, did the world forget what a woman's skeleton should look like? Like, are we losing ourselves here? It's like they want you to look here so you don't look at the most obvious thing. And it really doesn't even matter, honestly. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if these elites are women or men, half men. It's irrelevant. It doesn't change your life. That's why I don't talk about it, you know? But I got a super chat from X, and I wanted to answer that. But yeah, they're just a bunch of... They're actors. They're actors. They do whatever it takes to play the role. Just don't fall for it. Kara, love you too. Mr. Jansen, glad to see you hanging out with us. Still. D Vortex. 1 second. Ben Gonzalez, if you are interested in booking a call, you just go over to my website, WatersAbove.com, and there's a section regarding booking calls. I appreciate you. D Vortex says, a question from the Discord community. What if you meet Mr. Perfect? Everything you have been asking for the past 35 years, but he is now vaxxed. Should you let it go? Okay, this is a good question, and I believe a lot of people might resonate with this. Essentially, what the person's asking is, I found somebody, a potential partner, they're perfect for me, soulmate, but they've been jabbed. What do I do? Well, that's really a tough one because the body in and of itself is illusory, and I think that sometimes we get a little too caught up in it, and the mind can really damage a lot of people. But also, I'm very well aware of the vaccine in and of itself creating thicker blood, damaging the system, I mean, at a pretty rapid rate, specifically this newer one, like things like myocarditis, I mean, even nanotechnology inside of this current jab. So I know this isn't hopium, and it also, for this person to ask this question, that means they themselves are aware of the negative side of it. And I've even heard some people saying that, you know, they don't want to have sex with somebody who's been jabbed because they don't feel safe. Like they personally don't feel safe. And if they were to have a kid, they're worried about the kid. So it's a very, very honest and important conversation to open up. And, you know, for me, I would have to ask myself, you know, like, well, if this individual got this jab, well, where are they at in life? Like, what are they about? Are we about the same thing? Like, what you believe you align with on them, like, what makes them Mr. Perfect? Are they Mr. Perfect because they're good looking? Are they Mr. Perfect because they make you laugh? Like, what is perfect about them? You know what I mean? And I'm also not saying that the vaccine is the only thing that is them now. I'm not trying to say that people who get a vaccine are now Mr. Vaccine. You can't reduce a human being down to one decision they made. I know people like to do that because that's the fear-based negative side of people. But let's get over ourselves here. You know, you have to allow all people across the board. But how you interact with them, especially if it's going to be sexual, if it's going to be a long-term partner, whatever it is, you might need to dig a little bit deeper in conversations into where they're at. Because I'll just say this, it sounds like this individual is talking about a guy, and guys could be very agreeable when they want to get with a girl. I'm just being transparent. Guys can be very, very agreeable. They will say complete lies just to have the girl like them. So maybe this individual was honest about getting the vaccine, but how are they dishonest in other areas? When you bring up something that's really interesting, something perhaps that only this community might want to talk about, you know, like something deep, is he just sitting there head nodding and say, yeah, I agree. You're interesting. Is he just agreeing and going along with it? Does he really feel where you're going with this? Or is he just nodding his head because he wants things to go well for him? You know? Like, let's be honest, right? Now that requires this individual to go there with that person. A lot of people, they won't call people on their bluff. They won't call bullshit. You know, I've gotten to where I've gotten today because I don't stand for the bullshit. I have no fucking time. I only deal with real people. And whenever I see somebody being disingenuous, when I see, you know, hurt people. So if you interact with people that like hurting and manipulating and being fake and this, that, and the third, you're inviting that energy into your reality. And don't get caught up in the illusion of someone else's agreeability or someone else's theatrics. Because a lot of people are very good at acting, especially when it comes to the concept of sexual partner or relationships or what have you. Because you're really selective over those things. You know, they're not family. They're not in your life by accident. I do understand there's a divine connection we have with people, like you gravitate towards these specific individuals. But I don't know. I just feel like there would be a concept to an individual if they gave in to taking an experimental vaccine that has never been, I mean, none of these aspects of germ theory make any sense. So it's like, how many layers deep is this individual asleep? You know what I mean? And we have to be honest with ourselves about that. So, hope that helped that person. I know it was a question from Discord, so perhaps they weren't able to tune into this, but hopefully they did. Kevin Barber, appreciate you. You know, sometimes I don't want to, like, I'll say to myself, okay, like, these are the things that I want to focus on during this live stream. And it's always freestyled because I'm mostly answering people's questions. And you guys know me, I just go with the flow. But there's some times where I'm like, you know, I'm not going to talk about nutrition this week. But even though it gets a little hard for some people and it could bring some drama into the chat and it could be even bringing out some really negative people whenever that truth gets shared, one of the most beautiful things I see about it is the people who contact me 5 months, 6 months, 7 months later, and they just talk about how much their lives have changed since they've started implementing some of these things. So for every one parasite that shows up, there's like, I mean, for me, I always focus on the positivity. So why I'm saying this is because it's motivated me to keep spreading the truth about what we are and how consumption has been derailed through all of the complications through scientism and people's belief systems. So there's a part of me that just continues to share the truth regardless, even though people keep going in and saying this is this and this is that. And it's hilarious when people act like that because they forget that people are asking me the question. Like, people ask me a question about food and then you tell the truth and it's not what they want to hear, so they freak out. It's like dealing with children sometimes. But like I said, it's beautiful to see the change in people. It's beautiful to hear the people that have reversed problems and taken care of whatever they needed to take care of. Somebody said, what do you think about vegan malnourishment? Malnourishment happens in every single diet that exists. There's malnourishment because you're not consuming micronutrients. You're probably also not consuming fiber. Every diet could have the opportunity for malnourishment. We don't even really need to worry about the concept of malnourishment actually. We just need to focus on getting hydrated. When the vessel becomes hydrated, then you'll see what else is going on. It's like trying to judge a painting with a blindfold on. That's so many people when it comes to the concept of nutrition and exercise and diet science and anything regarding that. They're wearing blindfolds. And they're operating in such a vast, traumatic, vault of belief. And they've developed their own rituals accordingly. And that's why it's so hard for them to see clearly in that regard. Because you are what you eat. You become a part of it. Therefore, it parasites you. If it parasites your body, it's parasiting your mind. And if it parasites your mind, then it will literally start to rewire what you are. But I'll move on from that. Let's focus on other things for now. We've said our piece, and I believe it's helped many people today. And that's really all that matters. Kinda Bam Crochet, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining the YouTube membership. Sorry I don't know how to say your name. I think it's Kinda Bam Crochet. But sending you lots of love. Appreciate you. Okay, let's move through this. D-Vortex, you didn't expect that, girl? You didn't expect that? You didn't expect people to... It's the internet, man. Like D-Vortex said, damn death threats based on food choice. LOL. Wow. Yeah, we're talking about the internet, man. You hurt somebody's feelings on the internet and they start to get different. The beast in them comes out. People take things personally, man. It is what it is. Callan, appreciate you. Chris Topher says we got a hedge fund name for after the shift. Yeah, WatersAbove Incorporated. We're also getting WatersAbove Airlines. We'll have our own private Pilots, anyone who's a pilot, anyone who knows about airports. I don't know shit about any of that. But hey, if anyone out there wants to create a startup, that's the next project. WatersAbove Airlines. Kaz Yamamoto, I appreciate you. Sending you love. Wolfgang Waters, appreciate you. Sarita, Bonita, Chiquita, appreciate you. All right, I said something about spicy, and you guys just wrote like 100 comments in a row saying we like spicy, full spice. All right, it's all good. Okay, I'm just getting to some questions. Maybe if you guys want, you could write questions in full caps, just so I could kind of like find what the difference is. Shiny Robot, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. It's great to see you hanging out with us. Maya Bashor, appreciate you. Yeah, we can't go one live stream without this best adult dating site hogging up the chat. Like, how do they keep coming back, man? It's crazy. It just keeps happening. It keeps happening. X27, you said can we talk about REM, the band, or rapid eye movement? Yeah, I don't know if I could talk about the band, but like, you want to talk about dreams? What exactly are you? Yeah. I mean, see, here's the thing, like the dream state and everything that we've learned about it, it's typically coming from maybe and I'm talking about the higher levels, like more people that are maybe gravitating to my work. It definitely, a lot of it comes from the influence of Carl Jung. So a lot of people are learning through those lenses, and that's perfectly fine and super interesting, and definitely lots of merit there. But regarding where the sleep's role is in the system, I think it's interesting how everyone has a different connection with what dreams are to them. So I'm one of those people that I never dream. Like, I rarely dream. I just can't. And I have moments where I'll have interrupted sleep, where I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have an idea for something and I like write it down and then I just go back to sleep. Like, I am so creative sometimes. I have like a hard time sleeping. Just a lot of creative energy always surging through me. So with that being said, like, some people just have really vivid, interesting dreams where they could time travel, they have superpowers, they're doing, they're flying. Some people have really terrifying dreams where they have low self-esteem. They feel like, they enter traumatic chapters of their past that they keep revisiting. They don't know how to deal with it. And the biggest thing across the board that keeps happening regarding discussion of dreams is it's just vocalizing it is enough. It's like when you keep secrets, sometimes it's really difficult. It's really difficult for you to unlock the access to this stored trauma that you're cycling within you. So I believe there's something to be said for just talking about them, but regarding different sleep cycles and, like when people start talking about theta waves and these types of states of brain chemistry, and I really don't find any thing interesting about learning about that, and I'm not really too connected with any of that information. And where I do think the sleep and this process of getting a really quality sleep is important is just for body recovery and keeping the central nervous system, like, you know, doing what it has to do. Mostly recovery though. Like if you're somebody that needs to perform, whether that be running your business or you're a mom who has a couple of kids and like you're running around and you have a job and maybe you have 2 jobs, maybe you're somebody who has a job but you're trying to create your own business, and like a lot of the times when you just get that person to get a better quality of sleep, they make some big breakthroughs because they have energy, and the energy that they have is not like dragging them. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, they don't go to the gym just because they say they have low energy. It's like, well, why do you have low energy? And then it could be food related, but a lot of the times it's because they're sitting up till 2 a.m. looking at TikTok on their phones. You know what I'm saying? So it's really it's complicated. But regarding REM and dreams and all of that, the psychology behind it and any of that, I mean, I think it's just really about exposing the dream, getting it down on paper or telling it to a friend, especially if it's something that's traumatic, something that's making you feel negative or a lack of self-esteem or the inability to get over a hurdle, something that's a detour in your life or a plateau, because it does seem that does show up in dreams. So could be a thing. I just personally have not had that experience. I've never been much of a dreamer. When I sleep, I sleep. When I wake up, I'm right at it. I guess one of the things to be said, though, is I was never much of a person to store trauma or I've been very good at letting go of things. I've been really focused on problem solving. I have a lot of forgiveness in my heart. I have a lot of gratitude for the life that I live. I grew up watching some people complain about things that I was like, wow, man. Like, I don't want to talk about the term privilege, but it was just like hearing people talk about having a shitty dad or something. And I'm like, but your dad hangs out with you on Saturday. Like, my dad is in a prison right now. Like, people just lack grace. Like, they lack the ability to tap into gratitude. They don't really appreciate this life at all. They think it's misery because that's how they've been programmed. And I've been very good at letting go of that kind of stuff at a earlier stage of this experience, tapping into forgiveness. And that's what's allowed me to be so calm and so collected with what I do with my work and the calls that I have with people and the people that I coach. When you're operating in a state of calmness and you really, really care about what someone else is going through and you're not judging them at all during the process, this allows them to be really transparent with you. And when you get somebody to that feeling of being, you know, really feeling comfortable with you, that's where their breakthroughs are going to happen. And that's love. That's unconditional love. The world needs more of that. Somebody said something about my voice changing. You must be new to my work. Oh, it's too funny. Sarita Bonita says, I appreciate your super chat. Thank you. Says, hi, thank you for all the gems and spice. Can you describe your ideal reality for the community in a practical everyday sense? Do you mean like my daily routine, like what I do in a day? Describe your ideal reality for the community in a practical everyday sense. Woo. Sure. Yeah, I actually spoke a little bit about it in my upcoming expansion mastermind course. I have a part called redesigning the routine. and it's going to be like everything opposite of what most people might anticipate, because over the past like maybe 5 to 10 years, a lot of people have taken on this stoicism approach of like block scheduling and like being really structured and rigid. And I've questioned a lot of that in my journey of running several successful businesses way before I got into this YouTube thing. So I've kind of been there in a position where I know what it's like to work really long days and to have a really hectic schedule, to have to say no to a lot of things just because I'm extremely busy, but also doing that while simultaneously cooking all my own meals, playing guitar, writing music, you know, creating songs, as well as just living a life. Because I'm a real guy who does real shit too. You know, I know a lot of people realize that I do work a lot. They're well aware of that, but it's sometimes difficult to feel alive when you're over-structured. So my life or my daily routine, it's become what I naturally have tapped into, that's allowed me the most fluidity and access to flow state as possible without overscheduling, but still staying on track. And, you know, a lot of it has to deal with removing distractions. So most of the things that I practice on a daily basis is just removing as many distractions and as many what I call attention breaks. I try to remove as many of those as possible. And I would rather, and I don't like using this word sacrifice, but I think it'll make sense to you. I rather sacrifice doing something like taking an hour to prepare a meal or whatever, over being what some people would call productive, like just busy work. Because a lot of the time, busy work is just nonsense work. And I've had to ask myself many times, like, am I doing this task because it serves me? Or am I doing this task because it's just making me feel like busy and taking up time? And no one's ever going to step into your life and tell you to change like that. You know, it really requires self-awareness. So the biggest thing that I've been practicing lately is just noticing the difference between busy work and actual productive work. And I rather sacrifice something of my time regarding health and wellness. Like, I rather take 2 hours out of my day to cook, prepare some food, go to the gym, you know, just take care of myself, because that puts me in the best state of mind. But I don't really have much of a routine, because every day is so hectic depending on what I got going on. And I'm actually pretty boring. I don't think anyone, I'm very boring. I get up, I make a cup of coffee, I sit outside, I stare at the sky, do a little sun gazing. If I have some client calls prepared, I have that pre-scheduled out, got some alerts set on my phone. I keep my phone on airplane mode like 95% of the day. My phone is almost always on airplane mode. I don't accept calls. I just remove distractions. I don't have social media. I'm boring. I'm like the most boring, super boring guy. And I'm just playing guitar and developing my course and preparing my week for whatever content I might be coming out with. And it's mostly just a lot of coaching, calls, development of this business. A lot of alone time, a lot of time spent contemplating and you know, restructuring whatever action I'm going to take so that it's fulfilling my purpose. Appreciate your super chat. How long have we been going? We started. All right, we got a little bit more time. Yeah, guys, whoever's in the chat, I apologize about this best adult dating thing that keeps popping up. It's out of our control. The moderator's doing an amazing job at helping us Devortex and anyone else who's here. But we can't control it. It's really out of our control. They just keep coming in with spam accounts. So you guys could just disregard it. Marissa, Pink Arissa, sending you lots of love. Appreciate you. Also, I'm sure most of you are aware, we're getting a lot of questions about health and wellness and all that stuff. So it's really great to see so many people interacting. I'm doing my best to get to everyone's questions. It's quite difficult because we have 500 people or more at all times and lots of questions coming in. So I'm just doing my best. Appreciate everyone. Give this video a like too if you have a moment. It helps boost and get this out to more people. Oh, Love Stonk says, can me and Logan decode IPEC Goat 2? I've done a little bit on IPEC Goat. See, the thing is, and again, no, I'm not throwing any shade at the decoding community, but there's quite a lot of decoders that are specifically just focused on IPEC Goat, and it is really fulfilling the vibe of like the what happens next, prediction, QAnon type energy movement. Sadly, that's just like all it's become. And I think what's sad about the decoding that I've seen of IPEC Goat is very few people are doing it with a wealth of knowledge and wisdom regarding esotericism and Gnosticism. They don't actually have a whole lot of awareness of mythology. So when they're looking at these symbols that are showing up, the symbolism, they're making quick assumptions and they don't actually know what they're talking about. So when I watched IPEC Goat, I was seeing a whole different thing than what a lot of these decoders were sharing. And what I noticed very quickly, well, it's because I have multiple decades of study and, I'm very well aware of mythology and how it all plays into the aesthetic and structure of our reality as we know it. And when you become a little bit more aware of that side of things, you can see a deeper symbolism. And you're not looking at everything like, oh, this is satanic or this is the devil. And like, that's really what a lot of it, I've seen it be. So I would love to have the time to decode it more. I just don't. As for Logan might have decoded it in the past. I don't know. Shout out to Logan, by the way. Decode Your Reality. I just don't know if he's done it. If anyone should decode IPEC Goat, it should be him. Because he's going to come at it from a numerological standpoint. He's going to come at it with decoding it in a way that no one else is visualizing it. For me, my decoding specialty regarding IPEC Goat would be more the symbolism and the connections back to the mythologies. And again, a collaboration is possible in the past, but ultimately quite busy right now. Just being able to carve out these 2 or 3 hours every week to do these live streams is a little bit of a struggle for me some weeks. But I really try my best to prioritize these live streams because I know that, everyone looks forward to these and it's honestly my favorite time of the week. I really love doing these. Emmanuel Lehman, appreciate you. Sending you lots of love. Thank you so much for the super chat. You said, hi, Jordan. Just want to know your opinion on the numerology of my new apartment. Okay. You're on the 6th floor, apartment number 36. The block has 33 parking spots, I guess. My destiny number is 3. My wife and daughter, 6, will both be 3-6 in 2023. Well, specifically the number 36, you could break that down into 3 6s, and that's the 666, and that comes back to carbon. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. We are carbon man. That's what this incarnation is. It's carbon-based life forms. The number 36 is, mathematically significant in many ways. Probably not important for me to get into that stuff, considering you could quickly Google that. But getting to the number 3 specifically and the number 6 specifically, you're probably aware of the 369 code. You probably have awareness that the 3 and the 6 are definitely powerful. You have 3 being the Trinity, and that Trinity plays itself through both the divine feminine and the divine masculine. You have the Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Maiden, Mother, Crone, these phases of a incarnation, if you wanted to look at it like that. And it's also a compare and contrast perspective. It's like you have black, you have white, and then you have gray. So a lot of the time what happens is our reality, once we surpass duality consciousness, we naturally go to the Trinity system. And that Trinity system is about having a translator, somebody to actually get in between number 1 and 2 and bring them both together. And that's where the story of Genesis comes into play with the Adam and Eve and the serpent. So it's a very deep and esoteric perspective. But the number 33, as you're well aware, it's the number of transmutation. It's a very, very profound number. Transmutation essentially just means converting from one state of being to another state of being. And there's some more known connections, like the 32 vertebrae, and the 33rd being the pineal gland. They say that Jesus Christ lived 33 years, then crucified and resurrected 3 days later. These threes are very profound and repeated throughout many of the Abrahamic religions, as well as what they were plagiarized from, which goes back to Babylon. And the number 6, encroaching number into 7. It's definitely like a stepping up number. In biblical format, believe that's the day that man was made. So that again connects back to what we were saying before about the 3 6s, the 666, or the number of the beast, because it's the number of the man. And that again comes back to carbon on the periodic table. I mean, there's so many things to say. I mean, really the thing that you'll learn about numbers and what could fulfill a lot of your own questions that you could have about numbers is it's not that any number has one specific meaning. They have infinite meanings. It's just all about what you're aware of and the connections that you've made. And furthermore, it's the numbers' relationship to you and the way that you relate to the numbers. So what I tell people is do your best to never look at numbers as good and bad. Look at it as their relationship to something. So clearly the number 3 and 6 have a profound repetitive nature in your code. One of the other things you could do is look up your card of illumination. Look up I think there's a website called like Cards of Destiny or something similar, and put your birthday in there and see what that shows up for you regarding your birthday card and your wife and your child. And you might find some amazing connections there. So have fun with that. But that is pretty amazing that you, apartment number 36, and you and your, you said your wife and you are both turning 36 next year. That's crazy. That's super interesting. Amazing. All right. Dragon PHX sending you lots of love. I appreciate the super chat. You said, do you think the body is able to regrow cartilage in the joints without stem cell injections? Oof, cartilage is not easy to, no. It's going to be, bone loss, cartilage loss, like hard tissue, even tendon issues. Like it's really difficult to repair that sort of stuff. And of course it depends on a plethora of things. What's your current state of health? What's your injury? What are you going through? What are you consuming? What's your mind state like? What are the behavioral patterns in your day? I mean, there's so many things to say because anything could really be repaired. It's determined on all of those other factors that surround it. But cartilage is definitely not part of that conversation. I wouldn't go with stem cell anything. Like, you don't need injections of any. I mean, I get why people have been wanting to go that route on things, because people think that life is like you could just put the cure in a shot, but look at where that got us. You know, really what transhumanism is the PA Dragon, I'm not speaking about you right now. I'm just talking about in general, because a lot of people in the truth community are like scared shitless of this idea called transhumanism. And transhumanism is the attempt of man trying to live forever. That's literally what it is. It's the idea of what some people call utopia, where you never die. You have an infinite life. And you do this through the means of technology. So this is the thing. It's like if your code is set up in a way where you've started to have some issues, and then your only opportunity to correct it is some means of medical intervention, well then, you know, like that's something you have to like step back from and ask yourself, like, is this really the way to go? So, you know, it's hard because I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you what to do. I just would never consider the solution being having to deal with something like stem cell injections. But if you have like a fucked up knee or something, you just go to rehab for that and start a protocol of resistance training with very high repetitions, 20 to 30 reps, do resistance bands, rebuild the muscle around wherever that issue is, and just do physical therapy. And I would go that route, you know. That would probably be the harder, more difficult approach, but the much more holistic, healthy, natural approach. Hope that helps. JK, I appreciate you joining the YouTube membership, sending you lots of love. Appreciate you. Anyone who joined the YouTube membership, much love. How's everyone doing tonight? Somebody asked, what does the number 111 mean? Well, the number 1 is the one. It is the universe. It is all the things that were birthed from the cosmic egg called 0. 0 is the cosmic egg that gives birth to the 1. And the 1 is you. You're the player character here when you're incarnate. And you will meet a partner or a soulmate or your double, your spiritual double, and that will be your greatest teacher of balance. And then next you will meet the mediator between you and that other individual whenever you have something spicy come up in your partnership. And you will just see that we're fractaling just like the system of numbers in and of itself, and it continues based into sacred geometry and shapes and the way that even letters are drawn out. Logos. It's really interesting. But the 11, just talking about the 1 into 11, which 11 is the master number, that is the number of what I call new beginnings. That's how I look at the number 11. It's like how Genesis starts with Genesis 1:1. That is the birth. That is the rebirth. It's the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's the restart. And then everything just goes from there. It comes back and loops in on itself, the Ouroboros. And then after this loop, it starts all over again. The snake eating its tail. Just like the logo of this thumbnail on the video today. So the 11 being the new beginnings, it's seemingly one of the ways that we could perceive the 1-1 is almost like the way that we perceive the number 3. It is 1-1-1. 3 incarnations, 3 kings. There's so much meaning to every number though. So that's really the exercise here. It's not really about the singular meaning behind one specific, number sequence. It's about the relationship of the numbers to each other. And that's an exercise you can do. If you're aware that 1 is unity or singularity, and then you have 2 is duality, the couple, the partners, the king and the queen, the mother and the father, when you're aware of that, then that means the number 1 and 2 together, or we call it 12, now you can make up your mind. Start with it's like, when you grow up and all you know is English, you're being taught English, perhaps you're from America or Canada or the New Zealand, and then you learn Spanish and you're learning how to say the numbers 1 through 10, and then eventually you start getting into like repeating numbers where you're seeing how there's a relationship between the number going back to the beginning. We could do the same thing when we're decoding with numerology. So I believe that you guys are going to get a lot of utility out of what I just said, especially if you're decoders. Look at it very similarly, and it's going to change a lot for you. Like one of the things, I'll talk about this and then we'll move on, but the number 4, right? In Hebrew, that goes back to the Gematria, which is D, is the 4th, right? The 4th letter, or Dalet, and Dalet is the door. And a door has the 4 corners, like a window or a door. So the number 4 could be the representation of an entrance or an exit, or the ability to peer into another reality, or to have someone else peer into your reality. When you're looking through a window outside, you're inside of a space, but you're able to experience with your visuals what's happening outside of that. You see how deep this gets? And you can just keep having fun with it. There's no right or wrong. There's just infinite. Use your imagination. Don't get super logical. And if you really want to learn more about specific numbers, just go back to the ancient teachings regarding, numbers 1 through 9. And you're going to learn a lot just through that. Miss Lynn's face paints, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the super chat. You said, I think you resonate so well with us because you remind us of what we already knew before this world's indoctrination. Yes. What you just said, I resonate with that because that's the same thing I've experienced with many people. And I feel the same way about other people too. I've met some beautiful people in my life where I'm like, oh my goodness, where have you been? Where have you been? Because you're speaking it. You're speaking to my soul. And I just love how we all have that effect on each other if we allow that. It requires a discipline of being true self. Every moment you pretend in this world, you're stopping your ability to actually find the real ones. But when you are truly ruthlessly genuine and operating through higher self, you're going to bring some beautiful souls into your life. We all have that opportunity. So Miss Lynn says, do you believe we came into the world with all this knowledge and power already inside of us? Yes, I know this. And when I say no, I'm not using K-N-O-W. I am G-N-O. I know, sis. Like everything is infinite. Everything is a piece of you because you are soul. It isn't about the conversation of do you have a soul or not have a soul. It's that you are a soul. All life exists because you exist. Because without you, there is no life. You are infinite consciousness. Therefore, everything is an aspect or an extension of you. This is like, even when people want to go religious and talk about like Abrahamic Christianity version kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? but they don't want to go into like Gospel of Matthew. They don't want to look into like the real teachings that Jesus was saying. And Jesus kept telling people, like, you are everything. You are it. It's not about me, guys. That's what he kept trying to, like, he kept going a sleepy sheep and saying, like, you can wake up, and when you do, I want you to remember that you are everything. You are literally the universe. And of course, it wasn't said in this isn't verbatim, but it's the vibe. And that's why when Jesus first said to his initial group, when he said that everything is emitting from you, you are this divine spirit, when he started speaking that way, he immediately had a large percentage of them leave him. Because this is a world of trapped souls who don't want to remember what they are. They're stuck in a soul trap. And some of us, we're not, this isn't a soul trap. We just have to remember that we are soul. We are spirit. And that's why the more we tap into that frequency, the more pure we become, the more vibrationally in alignment we become with purity and love. And we have no desire to have dominion over another species or over another person. We have no desire to control other beings. We want to help people become self-empowered. We don't want to take our truth and shove it down someone's throat. We want to live our truth so that other people see what result it brings us, and that is the influence that gets them to live their truth. I believe we came here with everything. We are everything. We have access to everything. We are just suffering from amnesia. We aren't gaining any wisdom while we're here. We are remembering what we've always had. Because wisdom isn't knowledge. Wisdom is applied knowledge. It's the gnosis itself. It is the animated knowledge. It is knowledge with animation. That is wisdom. Wisdom doesn't have timelines. It doesn't have age. It doesn't have even experience. Wisdom simply has the remembering. And if you watch any sci-fi movie or any of these post-apocalyptic movies or any of that shit, you see there's a common theme. These technocrats, the people who run things like metaverse and all of this Black Mirror shit, they're trying to hack your memory. If you watch the movie Mr. Lonely, the main character is called Mr. Nobody. His name is Nemo Nobody. Then you go into the Greek mythology and you find Mnemosyne. Learn about Mnemosyne, the goddess of memory. Remember Morpheus from the movie The Matrix? Morpheus in the Greek mythology is the god of being asleep, of the dream state. Morpheus isn't giving you the red or the blue pill so you wake up. He wants your ass sleeping. And you will stay asleep until Neo remembers he is the one. Neo is the anagram for one. And until Neo mixes his letters around and becomes the one, he is just governed by the spell casting of the god of dreams called Morpheus. It's all there in our mythology. They're not hiding shit from anyone. This is why I get a little bit excited when people talk about how the elite are pulling the woolly over our eyes or trying to hide stuff from us. They're not trying to hide anything from you. You just lack the aperture of your pineal gland, and you're caught up in blaming rather than knowing. When you access knowing, you can see clearly. Everything is memory. And ultimately, whether people resonate with this idea or do not, doesn't really matter, because it's the effect that it plays on you, in your reality, and what you decide to do with it. And I know what it did for me. When I finally snapped out of it and really, really aligned with all of what I just said, it brought this vitality to me. I felt like I was a newborn baby. Like I felt like, oh my goodness, like I'm the one. Like, and sometimes a lot of people aren't going to be able to vibe with you when you're like that. They're not going to be able to take your energy, and that is okay. You're not here to be liked. You're not here to be agreed with. You are not here to be known. You are here to be the knowing. X27, I appreciate your super chats. You said, do you think a human gets more energy alone than 2G? I don't know what you mean by that. Can you clarify what you mean by that? I really want to answer your question and help out if I can, but it's just lacking the context. Dustin, sending you love. Fair notice, appreciate you. Tammy Horton, I appreciate that. That's all love. Miss Kiwi Gaming, appreciate you. I love all the like amazing energy in our chat. Oz Ekiel, appreciate your super chat. You said thank you for your work. You've helped me a lot. I'm not helping you. I'm just being me, and you are remembering, and that is the most beautiful gift we could all experience. But I do appreciate that. It means a lot to me. It's almost wild to think about how some people, like, has anyone ever thought about it? Like, what are the odds of someone and the YouTube algorithm aligning to make it so that this live stream could be heard? Isn't that like I mean, I'm not talking about specifically myself, but if you just think about that protocol, it's sort of miraculous. Like, I don't have a big channel. I have a pretty small channel, actually. And my channel is quite suppressed. I know it's suppressed, actually, because I could look at the analytics, and there's something about my channel that I haven't seen on many channels that have even less subscribers than me. You know, there's two key things that I've noticed about my analytics versus some others, and the only reason this is important is to show how divine the connection is between all of us. The one thing that is special about my this whole YouTube thing is I don't have a single viral video. I don't have one video that has substantially more views than any other videos. And if you look around at certain YouTube channels, you'll see people with 20,000 subscribers, maybe 30,000 subscribers, and they all have a video with like 40,000 to maybe even 100,000 views. I don't have a single video that is above like 30,000 views, and I have 40-something thousand subscribers. So I think that's really interesting how the analytics have played out for this channel, and it could be mostly because of Gematria, and that's a very rare topic of discussion. But even in the crypto side of the game, you know, crypto was really popular like a year ago. It's less popular now, according to the analytics, of course, because the market isn't the same as it was. But even then, I just think it's so fascinating how if I look at all my videos and categorize the analytics, it is super consistent. I've never had this like one video that blew up that brought a bunch of people to my channel, you know, and that tells me something. That means that this growth that we're having here is very organic. And by continuing to do these live streams and not talk about crypto and not give people, the soft lies, and continuing to hand out, the spicy truth, it just builds such a beautiful community. And I'll take that over any popularity or any viral video or any likes or none of that really actually matters. I'm just super grateful actually that the platform has allowed me to do this, to have this experience with everyone. I'm always trying to find something positive, even if it has something negative built around it. Like, people dislike social media platforms and they have this thing to say about this person or Mark Zuckerberg or YouTube or the CEO of Google or whatever, right? You know what I mean? But it's like, ultimately, like, even though this technology has something negative to say about it, it is also a tool. And I believe we're all using it like a tool to gather here and to do something bigger than just whatever trendy, face, dramatic, nonsense that typically gets a lot of energy. So, not to speak any lack onto other people or other content creators or any of that, but it is just the truth. So it's revitalized my outlook on how we could use social media and how we could connect with each other on the internet in a format, in a way that is a tool instead of a weapon. Maya Bashor, you said something that reminds me of a Bright Eyes lyric. He says, I feel alone at a table full of friends, or something similar to that. And there is this sense of loneliness sometimes that happens with people who are in their process of awakening, or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. And that could sound very depressing, like feeling alone in a table full of friends, but those are the most beautiful moments for you to alchemize opportunity, for you to see like, oh, damn, the reason it is happening the way it's happening, the way people interact with me and the way that I interact with the collective, is because I'm operating at a different frequency, and that should make you feel something, and that feeling it should give you is self-empowerment. It's amazing how people believe they're alone when they're in their stages of enlightenment, but just look at the word alone. It is all one. That's what the word is. It's not alone. You're not alone. We're all one. And for me, and Maya, I'm not directly responding to what you said. I just believe what you wrote a little bit ago reminded me of that Bright Eyes lyric, so that's why I brought it up. But furthermore, I've thrived a lot in my life in a state of being, alone. What in many aspects of life, it's allowed me to be really in tune with what I am and where my target is. And when you have a clear target and you have the ability to identify where you are, where you're going and where you are, when you could really be true to yourself and identify that, sometimes you learn that doing it on the path of being more secluded is the only way to get it done without distractions and without the static and the theater of the outside world. And sometimes people believe that their partner or their friends are helping them on their journey. And that's actually, those are some of the people that are creating the most toxic environment you could even imagine. And I'm not telling anyone to get rid of a friend or a partner. That's not what this is about. It's just, we all know who are the players in our reality. And for me, I've noticed that I've had more of an inclination and desire to be taking care of things and handling them alone. Like, I called this community the Wolves because I felt like I was a lone wolf. And even by being a lone wolf, I've always had the energy of leadership. So even though I walked my path alone in life, I always had results or a success in a way that has made people around me take notice, and they've always asked me questions. They've always wanted to know, like, what do you feel about this? What do you feel about that? Oh, you look like really good in this one way, or you could do this one thing at the gym, or just anything in life, playing music, creating art. I've always wanted to do it alone, and I've always done it alone, but then the results speak a universal language. So anyone who is great out there, you're a lone wolf, and you were brought here through that, whatever natural circumstances that took place. And that's what the wolf pack was all about. That was really where the initial idea came from. I actually have some really dope merch coming out soon that's going to be telling that story that I just shared. Like turning, and you guys know everything that I do is very intentional. All the merch that I've ever made, it was very intentional. I had a lot of thought put into it, and I wanted to create something unique. Well, the next thing that I come out with is going to be pretty much that story that I just said of like being the lone wolf, but the one who has always spoke the universal language of results. And even in your desire to be doing things in operating as a humble individual, the frequency that emits from a being who is very focused in their action and is very oriented in doing and seeking opportunity and alchemizing opportunity, I mean, you're going to get noticed when you operate like that. So no matter how alone you want to be, no matter how secluded you're going to be, when you level up, you're going to change the environment of every room you walk into, every person that comes into your circle. So the next merch that I designed is going to be telling that story, but just in a design. I'm really excited to share that, but that's not my focus right now because you guys are well aware I have a lot of other things that are more important than merch. And also, one of the last concerts that I went to, because Maya said this, her last concert being Tool. And that was one of the last concerts that I went to as well. I saw Tool in Melbourne, Australia. It was amazing. I've seen them now maybe 3 times. They're an incredible band. Dev. A lot of people keep asking me about the number 33 and all of this, all of these numbers kind of opened up the floodgates. Dev, I appreciate your super chat. You said, what does 118 mean in numerology? It has followed me for most of my life. Damn, did I just find the number 118 somewhere? No. I saw the number 118 in like a decode that I did like 3 days ago. So sorry, I don't remember the exact specific. But anyways, the number 118 is the encroaching number into 119. So that's the reverse 9/11. That number is very ritualized, like not only 9/11, but also the mirror of 9/11, because in alchemy, everything is mirrored. So there's that to say, like it's that encroaching number. I mean, one of the other things we could do as well is we could look into the periodic table. That's been a tool that I've been taking a little bit more seriously since practicing it more on my own. Shout out to our brother Logan. I mean, boom, there you go, 10. And you see the logo of 10 is literally the same logo of XRP. So if you're seeing that number and you've had a gravity to XRP, and you could even see here that this is on a ring. It's like a torus. Sorry, it keeps highlighting this. Apologies. But yeah, this is the 118 atomic mass. So we've spoken about that a while ago, I believe, the connection to TIN and XRP through the logo, and also this coin specifically coming back to Jupiter Pretty interesting. Not that that has anything to do with the tin conversation necessarily, but that's just a tool you can use once in a while. You could hop over to the periodic table and you could see some interesting things regarding that. And then the other one would be this one, the actual 118th element. So play around with this whenever you have any time, because it is the table of elements, right? So El, or the king of the gods, and anything with M-E-N-T, ment, is connected to mente or mentis, which means mind. So when you think of the word element, it's actually coming back to the mind, is the structure of all of the things that make up this simulation. Pretty interesting. But nothing specifically to talk about with the Gematria regarding the 118. It has come up sometimes in my work here and there, and just not enough for me to take notice and to put any emphasis on it. But I do really like that tin connection that I just showed you a moment ago. It's pretty interesting. Let's see what tin is giving us in... oh, well, that's... Okay, just really quickly, tin giving you 43 in the English ordinal, and that 43 is the 14th prime number, and the number 14 has been showing up a lot this year. I've shared many decodes talking about this number 14 and the number 43. For instance, the last Super Bowl that happened, the total score between both teams was 43. And this, again, all coming back to the number 14. You have Ram equals 14. The Rams won. LA Rams equals 14 in Chaldean, etc. But tin giving you that 43, or the number 14 prime. And 14 is the number 7 and 7, the two sevens. That's how you really esoterically decode, by the way. You just go deeper and deeper and deeper until you get down to the single digit. And of course, 4 plus 3 also equals 7, obviously. But I'm just sharing how to go a little bit deeper, and I hope that all makes sense. So that's one thing that I like to do a lot when I'm doing deeper decodes. And SN, that is so random that the ticker... Oh, look at that. So... I called it a ticker, but it's just what I like to call these things because it looks almost like a stock. But you see the S and the N together. When you look at that in English ordinal, that's giving you the 33, the number of transmutation. Man, I probably shouldn't have went down this rabbit hole because I could do this shit all day. This is what I do for, like, you know, my business. But yeah, that 33 is massive. Transmutation. And then the number 8, or the infinity, the analema, the number of consider the number of perfection in some ancient civilizations. 7 is given that number by most, but this 8 is a little bit more leveled up. Anyways, I should move on. But I showed you guys some interesting decoding techniques that you could use. Have fun. Jai Chef, appreciate you. So the number 137 is the 33rd prime number. And so again, it's just connecting back to that number 33. D Vortex said, let's get spicy. Talk about toxic positivity. Oh, that's great. I love that. Stefan, you asked a question about my designer portfolio of the past, and as well about setting up my portfolio after the Shemitah. So I will be exposing any buying that I do with the Discord, as I did in the past. I've just taken a step away from that because of some toxic behavior that's developed. And again, as a leader, I need to know when things are becoming cancerous, and up to me is the only way it's going to change. So I decided to take a break from sharing any moves I was making in the market, because I do so much work and take so much time out of my life to help people develop an investment thesis on their own. And I noticed that a lot of people were just playing the waiting game, waiting around for me to like tell them what I'm doing. And it developed a culture in our community that was, I'll just admit it was very cult-like. And I'm not running shit like that. That's not how I roll. I want people to become the best version of themselves. I don't want people to rely on me ever. That's just not my thing. It doesn't get me excited. What makes me excited is when people unlock a profound truth from within that changes their life and makes their reality better for themselves. So I've decided to take a step back from that kind of stuff, but I believe after the end of the Shemitah, we're just going to have a totally different community. Like we already have such a different community compared to 6 months ago. So it's a much healthier environment for all people. And anyways. So yeah, I'll be sharing that as we go. And in regards to my designer portfolio, and this will be the last thing that I say about crypto for the rest of the stream because I do need to wrap this up anyways. I'll get to some final, any super chats or anything, and then probably wrap this up in 10 or 15 minutes or so. But anywho, the designer portfolio doesn't change. And it's the best portfolio ever because if we just analyze from the day that I designed that portfolio and the performance of it compared to today, it was the safest portfolio. The safest, most conservative, and the way it was set up for any risky decisions would have been extremely profitable and high ROI, given that people were in the market, before the run really kicked off. So that all adds up to say, I remember when I shared that designer portfolio and a lot of people didn't like the fact that it was heavily centered around things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it was because of this tribalism, like cult-like mentality that was coming from specific altcoin communities. And since day one, I've been the guy telling people to leave these cults, this XRP army shit and the hexagons and all that. Like, it's cool that you guys identify with these coins, but once the coin doesn't go your way anymore, you're drowning with all of them. So that's a behavioral issue that people don't want to admit to. And it's something that I located very early on before I even made my YouTube channel. And the whole thesis around having 50% of your portfolio in something like Bitcoin and Ethereum is for the protection against a 90% pullback in everything else. And at the time where I was discussing selling things like XRP at $1.40, $1.60, $1.70 back in April of 2021, people were freaking out and, they were just really upset that I was being vocal about that because everyone wanted it to go much, 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 much higher. After doing hundreds of portfolio reviews for the public, which I no longer do anymore, but when I was offering that, I was noticing a pattern. And that pattern was people were not willing to take any conservative, decisions in this market, which is the most volatile market ever of all time in history. But people were still going very risky with everything they were doing. And it, as somebody who's a leader in the space, I knew that people need to kind of slow down, build a better foundation, have a portfolio that's way less risk heavy. And a lot of people didn't want to listen to that. So in my opinion, if it's not broke, no need to fix it. And designer portfolio set up the way it was, which was essentially a grip of Bitcoin and ETH as the base or the majority of your portfolio, and then have fun with the altcoins. As long as you do that, you're probably going to be okay in the long term. And when I mean okay, I mean you're going to be way better off when it comes to the time to make decisions. Because when people are in crypto, they want to have 20 different altcoins. They have a 4% allocation and 15 different projects. When they want to sell, they're not even sure how to do the TA to actually know the level of when to sell. It just becomes a shit show. I much rather have half of my portfolio in something that has a track record of continuously doubling or going higher than that, and then have really risky stuff be the higher ROI plays that'll make up for any other desire of FOMO that one might have during what we call a bull run. So it was very methodical, not only from the conservative approach, but from the emotional approach, from the approach of needing to do excessive TA to know your selling targets. I mean, the whole 9 yards. If people out there are more interested in everything I just said and like kind of the breakdown, a slow breakdown of everything I just said. That's really the purpose of that mastermind course that I released, because it even includes the exit strategy blueprint. So it has all of the mastermind course material plus the exit strategy blueprint, which means that when the run is, when we've made it to October, November of this year, you can restart that course and just follow it from start to finish. It will give you enough time to literally rebuild everything with a solid plan, with a proper investment thesis. And this way you're not waiting around for me to tell you anything. You're in control of your finances. And that's what I always wanted. That's why I designed this channel, is for people to get back control over their finances, to become their own decision maker. And that's, for me, that's the most genuine and honest approach I could possibly offer to this world. Trevor Knoll, I appreciate your super chat. You said 777 makes me think of waves of the sea. I like that. It's the jackpot number. 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 21. And we know this number 21 is pretty powerful. It's encroaching into the number 22. So that 22 being a master number. And the 7 in and of itself, by most ancient civilizations, always kind of coming back to the number of perfection, the number of success. It's a number that's directly tied to Kronos, or as some call Saturn. And the 777 equaling 21, that's a direct match to Saturn in multiple ciphers in Gematria. We know that Gematria is just Hebrew numerology, alphanumerical ciphers that are compiled together through their number codes, coming back to the word geometry, which again comes back to sacred geometry. And if it deals with Judaism or Hebrew or the Talmud or the Kabbalah, then that means that it has to deal with Saturn. So it is not a mistake that not only in Chaldean numerology, as well as regular, cipher, English ciphers, you're getting that 21 connection, coming back to 777. And that's the jackpot number, right? We also know 7 times 7 times 7 is 343. And I think it's really interesting how there was a company that was called 343, and they made a very popular game called Halo. This game, I mean, even if you look at what the Halo is, it's really interesting, like esoterically. Like, if you were to think our realm could be something perhaps similar, like a big donut, and we're living in one of the inside portions of it, I'm just playing around with the idea, but we all can speculate about our realm. I just think it's quite interesting how a company that made this video game called Halo, which again is like a post-apocalyptic transhumanist war game, I remember that game being pretty fun actually when I was younger, when I was in those days, but I just think it's interesting how the company's called 343. It's so random. And is it random or is it intentional? Oh, Easy27, you said Mr. Nobody, greatest movie of all time. It's really good. Jennifer M, you asked, can you hear me? I'm blocked everywhere. Well, no one could hear you, but we could definitely see your chat, so you're not blocked. Esoteric compassionist, I agree. Jody, glad you made it. All right, family. It's coming close to that time where I think I need to move on. I have a lot of work to take care of for the rest of my night and tomorrow. And just see some final thoughts in the chat. Nate Stakes says, I can't believe you threw shade at Hexicans in comparison with XRP army people. Wow, that hurts a little bit. Thought you were cool with Hex people like Crypto Coffee. See, the thing is I'm cool with Crypto Coffee because I've spoke to the individual. I am not a group thinker. I don't operate in group think, Nate. I have myself, and I know what is best for me, and what is not best for me is this group tribal mentality of thinking about this organization against another, thinking that one organization is better. You know what organization is the best? The one that I make. And you know what organization is the best for you? The one that you make. And I love the one that you make if you love the one that I make. But as far as I can understand, I don't know Richard Hart. I don't know anybody that works directly on the Hex development team. I don't know any of those people. It's also just a crypto. It's literally an intangible fairy dust. It's interesting. I mean, I have a whole channel where I talk about it at least twice a week. But I'm alive and I want to continue to live my life. I'm not here to pick cults. And sorry to break it to anyone who believes that, one specific crypto is better than all and I should go join a group of one specific, that is literally what a cult is. Because every time somebody says something, you have to defend it now, just like you did. And I know why you feel that way, because you're in a belief system. And probably very few people will talk to you like this. But you needed to be talked to like this. And I am not here to say that Richard Hart is a bad guy or anyone who likes Hex is a bad person. I just don't believe in this group think and the group mentality kind of effort of protection and fighting against other people because of whatever someone says about the thing that energy has nothing to do with self, and it has everything to do with the collective. And here on this channel and what my work is centered around is not keeping people stuck in groups. I mean, I know what my work has done in a very short time for the Hex community. And trust me, it has been pretty profound watching how many people have admitted that they had a tribal, death grip on everything that Hex does must be good and everything regarding that project and everything that Richard Hart said. See, the thing is I'll speak with anyone in the Hex community. I had a conversation with Crypto Coffee twice. He was extremely professional, respectful, just such a good guy. I don't judge him based on the community that he wants to belong to. I had a connection with him and it was pleasant. And I thought it was an awesome time. And I'll have another interview with him. He is not the problem. You are not the problem. It's this whole all for one and one for all mentality that is the problem. And what people in belief systems tend to do is when it worked really well for them, they can't give it up. And that's what I see the Hex community doing quite a bit. See, the Hex community and the XRP community are very interesting, and one has been extremely successful, although Hex did just have a huge correction, one of which I technically analyzed and called out before it even happened. But furthermore, And again, if people were really caught up in that group, they would have never saw these corrections coming. They would have never been able to step back and see that these types of pullbacks were possible. That's another thing groups have an issue with. They're operating in like cognitive dissonance. So the point here is that XRP, on the other hand, has been a somewhat very unsuccessful community regarding the price action. Regarding the price action. So that's the thing. Like they still are trying to protect their stance against other communities. And I don't care if you're a Bitcoin maxi or a fucking ETH clown or a Chainlink Marine or a Hexagon, you do you. But I'm not going to let that type of shit infest this thing that we're doing here. Because it's an intangible fairy dust private key that sits on a ledger. It is not your life. It will also not change your life. People think that crypto changed their life or an investment made them rich. Let's see how happy you are after you've got some extra money in your life, but what has actually changed about your life? Do you have more love in your life? Do the people in your life actually like you? Do you like them? Do you get up every day feeling a sense of purpose? See, this is all false nonsense that is perpetuated through these communities, through these specifically single crypto-focused communities. And that is their sticking point. That's their leverage point to perpetuate how great their fucking crypto is. It's just... You're never going to win in life if that's the energy that you operate under. You're either winning when the cult is winning or you're losing when the cult is losing. And that's not existence. That's called that's not life. That's called slavery. When slave master lets you inside the house for a little bit to have a hot meal, you like your slave master. It's called Stockholm syndrome. And that's what a lot of people in these communities deal with. And we see what happened with the Hex community when there was the bigger pullback. We saw there was a lot of people that went from being die-hard Hexicans to like, fuck this guy. I hate Richard Hart. This is a scam. You see what it does? That's called belief. This needed to be said, by the way, because I don't care if every Hex person unsubscribes from my channel. It's really irrelevant. Everything that I said was based on the individual and the protection of someone's freedom consciously. And that's what makes people great investors. A great investor is not somebody that has an emotional connection onto an investment. A great investor is somebody who's detached emotionally. You don't see Warren Buffett walking around with like a fucking, McDonald's t-shirt on. He eats there, he lives his life, and shuts up about it. He's very successful. He didn't also only invest in that single company. He was also willing to admit when he made bad decisions in other investments. This is the kind of stuff that only happens with skin in the game. And that skin in the game develops from people that are breaking free from the cult-like mentality. They're able to see clearer. So again, I appreciate the Hex community that has come over here and has given my work, a moment to see it for what it is. And even though I could be brash and very sharp with my words, it's always for its good intent. I really, really, really just want, by the next cycle that happens, for people to be accepting to the fact that this isn't what it seems like on the surface. Yes, somebody said something really important. They said, these cryptos don't love you. That's very true. Do you think that Richard Hart or Chris Larson or Mashinsky or whatever, do you think these guys wake up in the morning and they're like, that 475,000th customer that we got from the customer support chat, I wonder what they're thinking about today. That piece of mail that I received from number 7,855,000 KYC number 778954, I hope they're having a good day. I hope their mother's doing well. Duder76. I appreciate your super chat. This is gonna be it. We're moving on after this. You said love the show, dude. I forget how much I love the Hangout. Gonna be here more often. Thanks for helping us remember. I appreciate you. It's all love. Hope you're having a beautiful rest of your weekend and excited for next week already. I mean, I'm stoked to do this next Red Pill podcast. Next Red Pill, we're going to be focusing probably a little bit more on this recent correction and how this is all playing out. Get a little bit more into some of the pre-Shemitah ending concepts and connections that we made in the last Jubilee Decoded video. Probably some things that we need to discuss regarding that follow-up, because like literally I put that video out and within a couple days the market got pretty volatile, so that's definitely interesting. Much love to everyone. Thank you. Thanks for helping out tonight, D Vortex and Jody, and I'm not sure if D Wallachok showed up or any other mods. I appreciate every single one of you. So love. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of your weekend, and we will catch you all next week. Much love.